Greetings to everyone, friends. Today we have a very alarming precedent because the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, wrote a personal letter to all 27 leaders of the European Union countries ahead of the summit in Brussels. She wrote this letter today, June 18th, and let me remind you that the summit starts tomorrow. The letter contains a proposal to extend temporary protection but to narrow its scope. More precisely, so as not to undermine Ukraine's ability to defend itself. There are no details in the letter, but we are fully aware of the context. The Interior Minister supported the idea of excluding men back at the beginning of June. Men aged 23 to 60 from protection for new applicants, and according to DPA, the proposal received broad support. It's important to understand the scale and why this is really very important news today. Because this was talked about before, said Euro-Commissioner Brunner and some individual interior ministers. Now this is being said personally by the head of the European Commission in an official letter. This is fundamentally different since it's the European Commission itself, I remind you, that makes these decisions and submits proposals. That is, if Ursula von der Leyen had not supported this proposal, if she had not backed it, then the European Commission simply would not have issued such a proposal, and, accordingly, the countries of the European Union would not have been able to vote for it. But if Ursula von der Leyen is personally involved in this, it means that men of conscription age from Ukraine need to take this into account and get ready. And today I would like to consider another possible hypothesis, something that could also happen because in reality, things could go much further than just denying temporary protection to newly arrived men from Ukraine. We'll discuss this a bit later today. Now, let's talk about what this actually means. First of all, we understand that decisions are already being prepared. It's not just a discussion, but a concrete proposal that's going to the summit today and will be voted on in the Council of Europe in July. Yes, but of course we will know about this as early as possible. And today I will also say exactly when. Everything will become clear. Secondly, the current temporary protection is secured until March 4, 2027. That is, even if the protection is lifted and they decide not to extend it. For men of conscription age, that is not only not granting it to new applicants, but also cancelling it, not cancelling but not extending it for absolutely all men of conscription age. Then this will not happen before March 4, 2027. This is good news because even in the worst case scenario, you can prepare for it. And thirdly, this is not the final decision yet, but we see that it actually has broad support across the entire European political spectrum. Now, actually, let's briefly talk about the hypothesis. So, right now, everyone is talking about restrictions specifically for new applicants, but there is a scenario that is also being discussed much more quietly. That's what will happen if temporary protection for men aged 23 to 60 simply isn't extended at all on March 27, 2027. This question will already concern not only those who will arrive later, and this question will concern at least 1 million men of conscription age who are currently under temporary protection in the territory of the European Union. So, what will happen legally then? After March 4, 2027, the status will automatically end for everyone if the European Council does not make a new decision to extend it specifically for men of conscription age. And it will actually narrow this protection. For women and children, most likely, it will be extended until March 4, 2028. For men aged 23 to 60 years, the answer depends on, first of all, what they are going to discuss there now and what they will decide at the summit, which starts tomorrow. And of course, tomorrow we will already have some specific details. And in July, which is just around the corner, we will already have a specific legal decision voted on, and we will know for sure, 100%. Next, there are three options for men in this situation, for that same million Ukrainian men living in the EU. The first option is if you have, for example, a residence card or a student card. Yes, I'm speaking using Poland as an example, and you can actually apply this to your own country, whichever EU country you are in. If you have, in general, any kind of residence permit, then you absolutely won't be dependent on the decision of the Council of the European Union. Therefore, If you are not under temporary protection, then in principle this will not concern you. But I am talking specifically about the 1 million Ukrainian men who, according to official statistics, are under temporary protection. The second option is if you only have basic temporary protection and nothing else. In that case, after March 4th, 2027, you will be left without status. You can apply for regular asylum, but that is already an individual procedure without automatic protection. And as we know, if in principle the European Union decides not to provide temporary protection for Ukrainian men, then let's be honest. They are also very unlikely to grant regular asylum, most likely, if you are a man of conscription age, so there are no guarantees, and I wouldn't count on that either. That's it. And the third option is if you don't have, that is, you won't have temporary protection and you won't have the opportunity. For example, to get a residence card, yes, that is a residence permit, or at least to submit documents for it. Because I want to remind you that, for example, in Poland, if you live there, if you have submitted documents for a residence card, then you will be able to stay legally in the country while your case is being processed, and you will also have additional time. But it's better to take care of this in advance. That's it. But the third option is if you are unable to extend temporary protection because it is cancelled for men, and if you are unable to submit documents for a regular residence permit. For example, if you are not officially employed, not studying, if you don't have a business, and you don't have any relatives you could apply for family reunification with. That is, if they also don't have residence permits. That's why this is the worst option, because in this case you will either have to leave the territory of the European Union very quickly, or you will be deported to Ukraine through the readmission procedure. That's all. Should you panic about this? Definitely not, friends. There's no reason to panic because there's still plenty of time, even from July, when we'll already have some official decision. It will be possible. Those who are in Poland can simply submit documents for the CUKR card, and those who are in other countries, you can simply start working now on switching to regular residence permits. Well, or you can look for a country to live in outside the European Union. Then all the questions disappear and you won't have any problems at all. So that's why, as of today, we see that the head of the European Commission has written a letter in which she said that it is necessary to support Ukraine's defense capability. Yes, we understand that this will definitely relate to the decision, and there will be some changes for men of conscription age. And here, there is only one question. Will this concern only new applicants, or will it affect absolutely everyone? And the fate of at least 1 million Ukrainian men living in the territory of the European Union will depend on this legal decision. What should we keep an eye on, friends? The first thing you need to watch is what will happen tomorrow and the day after. The results of the summit and maybe some details about these new restrictions will appear. Maybe this information will be made public, maybe not, we don't know. Next, on July 26th, there will be an official vote of the Council of the European Union. This is a key date. You need to read not just the headlines, but the exact wording, because as we can see, there is a difference. Because the restrictions, temporary protection for newly arrived men from Ukraine is one issue, but restrictions on temporary protection for all men of conscription age is a completely different matter. And the difference is at least 1 million Ukrainian men. So, for those who don't want to miss this information, subscribe to the channel, like, and share your opinion on this matter. Thank you all. See you next time.